There is a sound on the ocean that costs taxpayers $5,000 every time you hear it. It is the sound of a steam piston smashing into a shuttle, throwing 30 tons of lethal aluminum into the sky. Listen closely. In the last 2 seconds, the United States Navy just bet $120 million on a physics equation. If the math is wrong, the pilot dies. If the steam pressure is off by a fraction, the jet drops into the sea like a stone. If the deck crew left a single bolt on the runway, it turns into a bullet that shreds a $40 million engine. There is no snooze button here. There is no gentle morning sun. When you wake up on the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, you wake up inside a factory. But this factory doesn't make cars or iPhones. It manufactures violence. It exports air superiority to any zip code on Earth, usually before breakfast. Welcome aboard the mighty Ike. To the enemy, it is a weapon of mass destruction. To the politicians in Washington, it is 100,000 tons of diplomacy. But to the 5,000 men and women living inside its steel belly, breathing recycled air and drinking desalinated water, it is simply the boat. And for the next hour, you are going to see where your tax money actually goes. We are going to take apart the most complex machine ever built by human hands, bolt by expensive bolt. Let's talk about scale, because numbers on a screen don't do this justice. You cannot understand an aircraft carrier until you stand under it. Imagine the Empire State Building. Now rip it out of the concrete, lay it on its side, and float it in the water. That is what we are looking at. The ship stands 24 stories tall from the keel to the top of the mast. It displaces 100,000 tons of water. Inside, it is a labyrinth. There are 3,000 compartments. The corridors, if laid end-to-end, would stretch for miles. New sailors getting assigned to the Ike are literally given a map and a compass, and they still get lost for weeks. You don't just walk this ship, you hike it. A typical day for a deckhand involves 20,000 steps on steel grates that destroy your knees. Everything here is oversized to a comical degree. Look at the anchor chain. In the civilian world, chains hold bicycles. Here, a single link of this chain weighs 360 pounds. That is heavier than an NFL linebacker. The anchor itself weighs 30 tons, the same as 10 heavy-duty Ford F-150s welded together. When the deck department drops the anchor, they are unleashing forces so violent that the friction peels the paint off the metal and can actually set the grease on fire. This is not the clean digital warfare you see in video games. This is brute industrial strength. It smells like jet fuel, grease, and ozone, and it is aging. The USS Eisenhower was commissioned in the late 1970s. She is an old warrior. She creaks in the night. She groans in high seas. She fights a constant, losing battle against rust. While the jets on her deck are 21st century marvels, the bones of this ship are from the Cold War. Keeping her alive requires a maintenance budget that could bankrupt a small country. But what makes this ship a true monster isn't its size. It is its heart, or rather its two hearts. Deep below the waterline, behind heavy blast doors guarded by Marines with shoot-to-kill orders, sit two A4W nuclear reactors. These aren't diesel engines, they are miniature suns. Inside these chambers, uranium atoms are being split apart to create heat. That heat boils water. That water turns into high-pressure steam. Here is the money math that should blow your mind. These reactors generate enough electricity to power a city of 100,000 people. The Eisenhower does not need gas stations. It does not need a tanker. It can sail for 20 years without stopping. It can sprint across the ocean at over 30 knots, faster than many speedboats, and arrive anywhere in the world before the news cycle even finishes a story. But this power comes with a terrifying risk. The engineers who operate these reactors, the nukes, are some of the smartest people in the military. They have to be. They are managing a controlled nuclear explosion while the room they are standing in is tilting 20 degrees to the left and right. If a pipe bursts in a normal ship, you get wet. If a primary coolant pipe bursts here, you get a radioactive catastrophe. That is why the standards are absolute. There is no good enough in the nuclear navy. Controlling this nuclear beast happens here, the bridge, high above the chaos of the flight deck. This is the brain. The atmosphere here is different. It's quiet, intense. The officer of the deck doesn't drive the ship like a car. You don't hit the brakes on 100,000 tons of momentum. If you want to stop this ship from full speed, it takes miles of ocean to slow down. Every turn is a mathematical calculation. Every command is repeated by the helmsman to ensure zero errors. Because if you make a mistake here, you don't just crash a vehicle. You cause an international incident. You start a war, or you run aground and waste billions of dollars. Now let's go up to the roof. The flight deck, 4.5 acres of non-skid steel that shreds skin like sandpaper. It has been officially classified as the most dangerous workplace on Earth. Why? Let's look at the hazards. You have jet intakes that act like giant vacuum cleaners. They can suck a human being inside and turn them into pink mist in a fraction of a second. You have exhaust nozzles blasting heat that can melt flesh. You have propellers spinning so fast they are invisible. And all of this is happening in a space smaller than a Walmart parking lot, while the floor is moving, slick with oil and pitch black at night. The centerpiece of this violence is the steam catapult. It is a piece of technology that hasn't changed much since the 1950s, but it is still the only way to throw a 30-ton jet into the air. Here is how it works. Steam from the nuclear reactors is piped up to the deck. It is compressed into massive accumulators. When the shooter, the officer in the yellow shirt, points his finger forward, a valve opens. Boom. The shuttle grabs the nose gear of the aircraft and accelerates it from 0 to 160 miles per hour in 2 seconds. For the pilot, this is brutal. Their vision goes gray. The blood rushes to the back of their skull. Their internal organs slam against their spine. For the aircraft, it is structural torture. Every launch stresses the airframe. And for the taxpayer, each shot puts wear and tear on a system that costs millions to maintain. But launching is the easy part. Landing is the nightmare. Pilots call it the trap. Imagine trying to park your car in a garage. Now imagine the garage is moving away from you at 30 miles per hour. And the floor of the garage is pitching up and down like a roller coaster, and it is dark, and you are out of gas. The pilot has to catch one of 3 steel cables stretched across the deck. If they miss all of them, a bolter, they have to go to full afterburner instantly and try again. If they catch the wire, they are decelerated from 150 miles per hour to 0 in 2 seconds. The force is so violent that pilots often suffer from detached retinas and spinal compression issues later in life. For decades, the undisputed king of this deck was the F-18 Super Hornet. You see them everywhere. They are the workhorses. They are loud, dirty, and reliable. But look closely at this new shape on the deck. It looks alien, angular, smooth. This is the F-35C Lightning II. The C stands for carrier variant. This isn't just a jet. It is a flying supercomputer wrapped in stealth coating. Here is the financial reality. One F-35 costs roughly $110 million. The helmet alone, custom-fitted to the pilot's head with augmented reality projectors, costs $400,000. That is the price of a Lamborghini just for the hat. While older jets rely on speed and maneuverability, the F-35 relies on information. Its sensors suck up data from satellites, drones, and ships, fusing it all into a god-eye view of the battlefield. It doesn't just dogfight. It assassinates targets from over the horizon before the enemy even knows a war has started. The Navy version is built tougher than the Air Force model. It has larger wings to generate more lift at slow speeds. It has reinforced landing gear to survive the violence of hitting the deck. It represents the future of warfare, incredibly expensive, incredibly high-tech, and absolutely lethal. But what is it actually like inside the glass bubble? Welcome to the office. The pilot is strapped into an ejection seat that sits on a rocket motor. The cockpit is tight. You are wearing a G-suit that squeezes your legs to keep blood in your brain so you don't pass out. Flying here is physical. When you pull high GS, your head feels like it weighs 100 pounds. Your vision narrows into a tunnel. You have to perform anti-G straining maneuvers, basically flexing every muscle in your body and breathing in sharp bursts just to stay conscious. And you have to do all of this while managing radar systems, weapons targeting, and radio comms. It's like playing a grandmaster chess game while wrestling a gorilla. A fighter jet without weapons is just an expensive airline. To make it dangerous, you need the red shirts. We are now going deep into the ship's magazines. This is the bomb farm. These sailors are the aviation ordnancemen. Their motto is straightforward. If you ain't ordnance, you ain't sh*T. Contrary to what you see in movies, bombs don't come ready to use in a box. They are built like Lego sets from hell. The warhead, the guidance kit, the fins, the fuses, they are all stored separately for safety. These teams assemble them by hand. They use torque wrenches to tighten the bolts on a JDAM kit that turns a dumb bomb into a satellite-guided precision weapon. A single GBU-31 bomb costs $25,000. A laser-guided paveway can cost even more. The amount of money sitting on these pallets is staggering. But the real currency here is safety. One mistake. A dropped tool, a spark from static electricity, a loose fuse, and the results are unthinkable. The USS Forrestal fire in 1967 started with a rocket malfunction on deck. It killed 134 sailors and nearly destroyed the ship. Every red shirt knows that history. They respect the explosive power they handle every day. Once built, the weapons travel up special elevators called dumbwaiters directly to the flight deck. Finally, they hoist the weapons under the wings of the F-18s and F-35s. When a pilot presses the trigger, it's the end of a long chain that started right here, in the hands of a 20-year-old kid with a wrench. Now let's talk about the logistics that make your head hurt. You are floating in the middle of a saltwater desert. There are no supermarkets, there are no warehouses. If this ship runs out of fuel, the planes drop into the ocean. If it runs out of food, the crew stops working. This is why the most important maneuver the Eisenhower performs isn't a combat strike. It is UNREP, underway replenishment. It is a terrifying dance between two massive ships. The supply ship pulls up alongside the carrier. They sail parallel to each other, separated by just 150 feet of rushing water while traveling at 15 miles per hour. Helicopters act as flying forklifts, shuttling pallets back and forth in a process called VERTREP. But once the pallets hit the flight deck, the clock starts ticking. You cannot leave tons of cardboard boxes on a runway where jets need to land. It triggers an all-hands evolution. Suddenly, highly trained jet mechanics, electronic warfare specialists, and radar technicians become movers. They form human chains, passing thousands of boxes of frozen chicken, fresh lettuce, and spare parts down through the narrow hatches, deep into the ship's freezer compartments. It's back-breaking work, but it's the only way to survive. Once the supplies are on board, they go here, the galley. Forget what you know about cooking. This isn't a kitchen. This is an industrial factory of calories. The culinary specialists don't cook for a family. They cook for a small town. The numbers are staggering. They crack 2,000 eggs for breakfast. They thaw 600 pounds of steak for a single dinner. They go through hundreds of gallons of milk a day. The ovens never turn off. The deep fryers run 24/7. Because on a nuclear carrier, there is no night or day. The ship operates on an 18-hour cycle. Someone is always waking up hungry. The menu has to be diverse. You have kids from the deep south who want grits and kids from California who want salads. The cooks have the impossible job of keeping everyone happy using ingredients that might have been frozen for months. Food here is the highest form of currency. Taco Tuesday is treated with religious seriousness. If the tacos are good, morale goes up. If they run out of guacamole, you can feel the tension in the hallways. And then there is the dark omen, surf and turf, steak and lobster. Civilians think this is luxury. Sailors know the truth. When the Navy serves lobster, it usually means bad news. It means the deployment is being extended. It means you aren't going home for Christmas. It is an apology on a plate. But living here isn't just about work, it's about endurance. Imagine being locked in an office building with 5,000 coworkers for 7 months straight. You cannot leave, you cannot open a window, you cannot walk on grass. The sleeping quarters, berthing, are tight. You sleep in a rack, which is basically a coffin-sized bunk stacked 3 high. You have a small curtain for privacy. That curtain is the only wall between you and 100 other people who are snoring, coughing, and farting. The smell of a berthing compartment is something you never forget. It's a mix of feet, diesel, laundry, detergent, and body odor. And then there is the isolation. When the ship goes into River City, a total communications blackout for security reasons, the internet dies. No Instagram, no FaceTime with your kids, no emails from home. You are completely cut off from the modern world. All you have is the ocean and the person sleeping in the bunk next to you. Look at these faces. The average age on board the USS Eisenhower is just 20 years old. These aren't hardened veterans from old war movies. These are kids from the generation of TikTok and Spotify. They come from the cornfields of Iowa, the streets of Atlanta, and the suburbs of California. They have their own culture. They create music videos in the hallways. They roast each other in the smoke pit. They have their own slang, but don't let the youth fool you. When the alarm sounds, these same kids transform instantly. They are trusted to repair $60 million aircraft. They handle nuclear weapons. They navigate a 100,000-ton warship through hurricanes. They are professional, lethal, and incredibly resilient. They trade their youth, their freedom, and years of their lives to live in a steel box. Why? Ask them and they might tell you it's for college money or to see the world. But watch them work and you realize it's something else. It's for the person standing next to them. In the Navy, shipmates are closer than family, because out here in the middle of the Atlantic, they are all they have. So why do we build these monsters? In an age of cyber warfare, hypersonic missiles and satellites, is a massive steel city costing $13 billion still relevant? The answer lies in the water displacement you are looking at right now. Virtual presence is not actual presence. You cannot surge trust via email. You cannot surge intimidation via a press release. To truly affect the world, you have to be there. When a crisis breaks out anywhere on the globe, an earthquake, an invasion, or a terror threat, the first question the president asks is always the same: where are the carriers? And usually the answer is, the Ike is already there. It is a mobile airbase that requires no permission slip from any host nation. It parks in international waters, sovereign American territory, and simply waits. It is a silent warning that speaks louder than any diplomat. It is the ultimate symbol of American industrial and military might. But this dominance comes at a heavy price. Not just in dollars, though the billions spent are real, but in human time. The sailors on this ship miss birthdays, they miss anniversaries, they miss their children's first steps. They destroy their bodies carrying heavy chains and sleeping on thin mattresses. They do it so that the shipping lanes remain open. They do it so that allies feel safe and enemies stay quiet. This is the floating city. This is the mighty Ike, and that roar you hear. That is the sound of freedom being paid for, one catapult shot at a time. If you were amazed by the scale of this operation, hit that subscribe button right now. We are documenting the world's most powerful military machines, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. And let me ask you, after seeing the cramped bunks, the dangerous deck, and the nuclear risks, could you survive a 6-month deployment on this ship, or would you crack after a week? Let me know in the comments below with a yes or no. If you think life on the surface is tough, you haven't seen anything yet. Click the video on your screen to go deep inside a nuclear submarine where the crew doesn't see the sun for 90 days. Thanks for watching.